Hi everybody, we're going to read chapter 13 today in Summer of the Monkeys. It probably will be in two parts. I'll let you know as we get there. Chapter 13. That night, long after I had gone to bed, a storm blew in. Brother, was it ever a storm. As I had often heard my grandpa say, it was a ring-tailed wampus cat. I was sound asleep when the storm broke, and I was amazed by an earth-jarring clap of thunder that all but turned my bed over. I was lying there watching the flashes of lightning through my window and listening to the raging storm when the door of my room creaked open. It was Daisy. She was scared of storms. "Jay Berry," she whispered, "I'm scared. Can I come in for a while, just till this crazy old storm blows over?" I was scared too, but I wasn't going to let Daisy know it. I figured that boys didn't ever let girls know that they were scared. "Ah, Daisy," I said as I sat up in bed, "I don't know what you're scared of. It's just a little old storm." "A little old storm," Daisy said as she came in and sat down on the edge of the bed. "I think it's going to blow the whole country away. I bet my playhouse is a mess, and I had it looking so pretty." For several minutes Daisy and I sat in silence listening to the storm. Lightning was cracking and thunder was rolling. Every time it thundered, our old log house trembled and the windows rattled. Strong gusts of wind slammed the rain against the window so hard I thought it would surely break the glass. I could hear the big red oaks around our home fighting back the storm. Limbs were squeaking and snapping and leaves were rattling. Right after a loud clap of thunder that all but shook the house down, Daisy said, "Boy, old Thor must really be mad tonight." "Thor," I said, surprised. "What are you talking about? I never heard that name before." "Surely, Jay Berry," Daisy said, "you've heard of Thor, the thunder god. Everybody knows about him." "Well, I didn't know about him," I said. "I've never heard of a thunder god with a name like Thor. Where do you hear things like that anyway?" Daisy sighed and said, "Jay Berry, I just don't know about you. I learn things by reading. If you would read something besides those old hunting and fishing stories, you might learn something too." "Ah, Daisy," I said, "I like to read hunting and fishing stories. I don't like to read anything else. I wouldn't like to read anything about an old thunder god." "I think you'd like to read the story about Thor, the thunder god," Daisy said. "It's a real good story." "What's it about?" I asked. Daisy scooted a little closer to me. She said, "Well, it goes something like this. Thor the thunder god is a warrior. He lives way up in the heavens somewhere. He has long red hair and a red beard. He has a chariot too. It's pulled by 4 coal-black horses that snort fire. Every time Thor gets mad, he jumps into that chariot, whacks those black horses, and takes off through the heavens. The only weapon he has with him is a big hammer. All along the way, he throws that hammer right and left. Every time the hammer hits something, it turns into a bolt of lightning. It makes no difference how many times Thor throws the hammer. He never loses it because it always comes back to him. The thunder you hear is the rumbling of those chariot wheels. That's why they call him Thor the thunder god." "Boy," I said, "that does sound like a good story. I think I'd like to read it. Do you still have it?" "Sure," Daisy said. "It's in one of those little books that Grandma gave us. You're supposed to read those books too, but you never read a one." "Ah, Daisy," I said, "I don't like to read books like that. Who ever heard of a boy reading stories like The Little Red Hen, Little Red Riding Hood, The 3 Little Pigs, and stuff like that? They're girl books. That's all they are, girl books." "Girl books," Daisy said. "Jay Berry, I declare, I don't think there's any hope at all for you. I don't think you'll ever learn anything. Every girl and boy should read those stories. After all, they are really good stories." "I don't care how good those stories are," I said. "I couldn't get interested in reading them, not now. The only thing I'm interested in right now is catching those monkeys." Just mentioning the word monkeys made my hair fly straight up. I all but jumped out of bed. I forgot all about the storm and everything else. "Oh," I said in a loud voice. A frightened look came over Daisy's face. "What's the matter, Jay Berry?" she asked. "Are you going to have a fit?" "No," I said, "I'm not going to have any fit. I just thought of those monkeys. I bet they'll get drowned in this storm. It would be just my luck." Jay Berry, Daisy said, I don't think you have to worry about those monkeys getting drowned. All animals know how to take care of themselves in a storm. If you know anything at all about animals, you should know that. I do know about animals, I said. I know all about coons, possums, skunks, squirrels, and things like that, but I don't know anything about monkeys. If I ever catch the ones that are hanging around here now, I hope I never hear the word monkey again as long as I live. Daisy giggled. I bet old Rowdy feels just like you do, she said. Just then old Thor really must have thrown that hammer. A big bolt of lightning zoomed down from the sky, hissing like a mad snake. From somewhere close by there was a loud crack that sounded like 100 rifles had gone off, all at the same time. I knew that somewhere in the hills a big tree had split wide open. My room lit up so bright I could see the stitches in the patchwork of the quilt on my bed. From a sitting position I jumped about 2 feet straight up. Daisy shivered, then she uttered a low moan and started rubbing her crippled leg with her hand. What's the matter, Daisy? I asked. Does your old leg hurt? It sure does, Daisy said. Every time it storms like this, my leg hurts something terrible. Sometimes I just have to grit my teeth to keep from screaming. I felt so sorry for my little sister I wanted to help her, but I didn't know what to do. I didn't know anything about doctoring. I couldn't doctor a sick cat, much less a crippled leg. Do you want me to get the liniment bottle? I asked. Maybe if you rub some of that stuff on your leg, it would help. No, Daisy said, that wouldn't help a bit. It used to, but not any more. Lately, nothing seems to help. Why don't you tell Mama that your leg is hurting? I said. She can doctor anything. No, Daisy said. I don't want Mama to know. She has enough to worry about. Besides, she needs her rest. About that time, Thor must have gotten tired of riding around in his chariot because the storm let up. The wind, thunder, and lightning stopped, but it was still raining tadpoles and crawdads. As she got up from my bed, Daisy said, Looks like the storm is letting up. I think I'll go back to my room and lie down. Maybe my old leg will stop hurting. Just as she reached the door, she stopped and said, Oh, I almost forgot. Just before I left my room, I saw the old man of the mountains again. You did, I said. Where was he when you saw him? Right here in our house? No, Daisy said. He wasn't in the house. When the storms came, I got up close to the window because that rain was coming in. I looked through the glass and saw him standing out in the yard. Holy smokes, I said. What was the old man doing, prowling around on a night like this? I'll bet he was sopping wet. No, he wasn't wet, Daisy said. The old man of the mountains doesn't get wet if he doesn't want to. I started to give Daisy one heck of an argument about this. I didn't figure that anyone, not even the old man of the mountains, could mess around in a rainstorm without getting wet, but I had already decided that he was a spirit of some kind, and I didn't know a thing in the world about spirits. Maybe they didn't get wet if they didn't want to. Remembering that Mama had told me to play along with Daisy when she was telling me one of her stories, I said, What did that old man have to say this time? He didn't say a word, Daisy said. He was just standing there pointing that stick at our house. When I heard Daisy say this, I all but came unglued. Does that mean we're going to have bad luck? I asked. Maybe the old man is trying to burn our house down. No, Jay Berry, Daisy said. The old man in the mountains isn't going to burn down our house. He would never do anything like that. He's too kind and gentle. But if you said every time he pointed that stick at anything, bad luck was sure to come. No, Jay Berry, Daisy said. Not every time. It just depends. If the old man of the mountains is frowning when he points that stick, you'd better look out. It means he's unhappy with you and you're sure to have bad luck. But if he's smiling when he points that stick at you, it's different. It means you're going to have good luck. Daisy, I interrupted, when you saw that old man, was he frowning or smiling? He was smiling, Daisy said. He was just standing out there in the storm with his long white hair and his robe waving in the wind, pointing that stick at our house. Every time the lightning flashed, I could see him as plain as day. He looked pleased and happy and had a warm smile on his face. We're going to have good luck, Jay Berry. You can be sure of that. I sure hope he knows what he's doing, I said. I could use a lot of good luck right now. A whole tow sack full of it. I'd like to catch those monkeys before somebody else does. As unlucky as I've been, that's probably what will happen. I've worried so much now, I'll probably be white-headed before I'm 16 years old. "Jay Berry," Daisy said, "maybe if I told you a story, it would get your mind off all that worrying. I have a real good story in mind. Would you like to hear it?" "Ah, Daisy," I said, "I don't want to hear one of those old ghosty stories, not on a night like this. The way it's been storming and everything, we'll be lucky if we don't wake up dead in the morning anyway." Daisy giggled. "Jay Berry," she said, "I've never heard of anyone waking up dead, but if you don't want to hear a good story, that's all right. I'll just save it until the next time." I didn't say anything to my little sister, but I thought, if I have anything to say about it, there won't be any next time storytelling. After Daisy left my room, I had a terrible time going to sleep. I kept thinking about the old man of the mountains and the good luck that was supposed to be coming my way. When I finally did fall asleep, I had a strange dream. I dreamed that Rowdy and I were lost, way, way back in the mountains. It was pitch dark and I couldn't see where I was going. I walked and I walked. I kept falling over rocks and logs, bumping into trees and getting all tangled up in the underbrush. Finally, I got so tired and weak I just couldn't go on. Rowdy and I lay down under a big white oak tree and went to sleep. I started dreaming that I heard someone calling my name. "Jay Berry, wake up now." I opened my eyes, and there before me stood the old man of the mountains in his snow-white robe. I looked down and saw the sandals on his feet. He was just standing there tall and straight, with his arms folded, looking at Rowdy and me. His eyes were as blue as a robin's egg. He was smiling. I got up and stood before him. "Old man of the mountains," I said, "my little sister said that you would help any girl or boy that had been good. Well, ever since she first told me about you, I've tried hard to be a good boy. I really have. I haven't caught any of the little animals or birds. I haven't even stepped on a flower or thrown a rock at a lizard. I've done everything that Mama and Papa have asked me to do, and I've said my prayers every night. I think I've been a pretty good boy, don't you? Now I need help. I'm lost and I'm tired and hungry. I want to go home. Please, would you show us which way to go?" The old man of the mountains didn't say a word. He just smiled, nodded his head, and pointed with his stick. Rowdy and I started walking in the direction he'd pointed. It wasn't long until I saw the lamplight in the windows of our home. I was awakened from that wonderful dream by a loud banging noise. Daisy was pounding on the door of my room with that old crutch of hers. "Jay Berry," she yelled, "you'd better get up. Breakfast is ready and time is a-wasting." "All right," I yelled. "You don't have to beat the door down. I'm getting up." Daisy giggled, and I heard the thumping of her crutch as she went on her way. I hopped out of bed and flew into my clothes. Before leaving my room, I walked to the window and raised it. I expected to see a dark, gloomy, miserable day, but I was surprised. The storm had left everything sopping wet, but there wasn't a rain cloud in the sky. A bright morning sun seemed to be taking a rest right on top of the highest peak of the Ozark Mountains. It was just sitting there, big and bright, and looked like it was trying to make up its mind what to do next. Dry everything out or make the green things grow? Birds were singing and the chickens were cackling. Out in the hog pen, Sloppy Ann was squealing with hunger. Up in the pasture, Sally Gooden mooed her delight with a juicy green world. From down in our fields, I heard the cawing of an old crow and the scream of a red-tailed hawk. It was one of those perfect Ozark mornings, clean, fresh, and green. I closed my eyes, puffed out my chest, and sucked my lungs full of that fresh, scented air. I could feel the tingling sensations clear down to my toes. It made me feel like I had just been born and had my whole life to live again.